So we're back. We were in section 3, page 168 for unit 10, right? And we were talking about the first column here when it talks about, it discusses the question of the use of the to infinitive and the ing, right? And we're looking at the use of the ing form after prepositions, right? And the example here was, I object to driving all that way. Now, the thing here was that I'm using an ing form after a to, which is not clearly a to infinitive, but rather, as indicated by the title, is functioning as a preposition, right? And here you have the other example, given to doing something. She's much given to outbursts of temper. He's given to going for long walks on his own. She's given to calling me, I don't know, Peter, right? Es parecido al castellano, se le da por. So I made a list of many of these verbs. I invite you to look them up, right? You know, the most popular, which is, I said earlier, look forward to doing something, right? But there's, I'm going to repeat myself a bit, object to doing something, be used to doing something, which is also one that you know, get round to doing something, committed to doing something, admit to doing something, and this given to calling yourself something, addicted to gambling, for example, and not many more, right? This is a limited list, right? In the second column here, the writers want to talk about, or the writer actually wants to talk about the subject of a to infinitive and the subject of an ing form, something we have seen before, right? Now, for him to complain, yes, for us to go, this is the form we have in English to provide a to infinitive with a subject, something that is very, very odd, right? For him to go, for him to go. But if you want to give a subject to a to infinitive, you need this phrase. Now, if you want a subject for an ing form, then you will either use his or him, right? The examples you have here, right? I object to his calling me Peter. Yes, and this would be the standard form, right? Using the possessive adjective, which is very, very unusual, right? An adjective as a subject, right? As opposed to the objective pronoun, which would have been him, right? And we have talked a lot about this initially. In most cases, the more standard form, the more conservative form is to use the objective pronoun, right? So, sorry, it's not to use the objective pronoun, but rather the possessive adjective. So my calling instead of me calling, right? Me calling would be the informal version of this, right? You can check this out on Swan, actually, right? Entry 295, sub entry 4, and then you can also go to 296 sub entry 2, I think, all right? And then you will find a couple of verbs that do seem to prefer the objective pronoun, and this is when you say, I saw him getting out of the car, I dislike him calling me Peter, or I can't imagine him doing the work, right? Also, this happens with the verb stop, right? So it seems that there's a very limited number of verbs that prefer the objective pronoun rather than the possessive adjective. And if you think about it, these are cases in which the phrases look much more are similar to a kind of sentence, right? When you say, I saw him leaving the car, he was leaving the car, right? It looks odd to say, I saw his leaving, right? As seeing the ing form as a kind of noun, right? that's all I have to tell you about this. And then there's a minor comment I want to make about common phrases here in number 5. To err is human, you know this one. To be or not to be, you know it as well. But I wanted to comment on it is better to have loved and lost, right? And this is because when I want to use this infinitival form in the past, I need to say to have loved. It's nice in the other case to have met you, right? It's nice to meet you today. It was nice to have met you in the past. And that's why when you answer the phone and you leave someone waiting to connect them, when you come back to them, you say, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, not I'm sorry to keep you waiting, right? Because then the action would be starting when you start speaking. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Of course, we say I'm sorry to keep you waiting because that's the more idiomatic, more natural way of saying this, right? But well, as regards the activities, these are very interesting. I wanted to focus on this phrase above, which appears in activity number 1, because I know you know to stand for as in a symbol, right? What does the TC stand for in TC? But also it means to support something. I hated the organization and all it stood for. But that's not the one I wanted, actually. This is the one I want. To stand for something. So I'm not standing for it any longer, and still this is not the one I wanted you to see, but rather to stand for president as it's the example in letter J, which is to be a representative, right? To put yourself up for election, right? And the opposite of this, right? You stand for election, and then if you do something bad, you step down. To step down, which is to resign, right? Then I would like you to take you to activities 2 and 3 are very useful, so go on and do them, right? Before I forget, to say to stand. I don't know why the example is not here. Maybe it's understand solely. So you stand for parliament, right? You stand as a candidate for elections, right? I don't know why. Maybe I clicked the wrong link. Now I want to comment on activity 4, which has this beautiful word, which is very difficult to pronounce. Heinous, right? Sorry, I should have waited. Heinous. You can also get heinous, right? Heinous would be the more standard version for this word. Well, you have this very educated, very formal term, and then you have, well, many others that are really vulgar. But then there's also boorish, which I think is a word you need to know, referring to someone who is very rude and unpleasant, right? Boorish, right? A twat, maybe you know this from television. And let me just see. Yes, pride. Which is a word we're going to see a number of times this term. Pride not as a noun, but as a verb. You pride yourself on something. Sorry, I will go back. So you pride yourself on your appearance, right? Pride yourself on. Now, if we go back and you use pride as a noun, you take pride in something. I take pride in my work, right? Take pride in. All right. So, there's also here the verb threaten, which has many very interesting patterns. You threaten someone. You threaten with doing something, with dismissal, with a gun. You threaten to do something, to kill someone, to tell on someone, right? And then you could say something like clouds threaten rain, right? Well, so you threaten me. You threaten someone with something. You can also threaten action, right? Threatening legal action, threaten strike. threatened that passengers would be killed. So very interesting verb, right? Threaten to do something, clouds threaten rain. That's a standard example, right? Threatened with closure, right? And also, of course, you know, the other meaning as in danger, right? Pollution is threatening marine life. Okay. So I think I'm going to go to section 4. And in this case, there isn't a lot to be said. There's the my popular unattended demonstrative. Right, this is not explained as such, but I like to call it, well, it's not me. Grammarians called when you say something like in the first column, right? This has all changed now. When you say this and you don't say what, this place, this house, this, I don't know, moon. I can see a full moon, which is really beautiful right now. Sorry. Well, demonstratives shouldn't be used like this, right? It's not really good style, basically, right? Because the reader is a bit at a loss, right? Still, it is used a lot, as you very well know. Okay, I think the rest is really self-explanatory. There isn't a lot to be said for me. And of course, if you have any questions, you will let me know in class. Now, I wanted to focus on in the practice section. You have some interesting activities. The thing is that this section is really, really easy, right? But from activity 3, getting on 4. This is very British. There. For a person, it means to get old or getting late. So time's getting on, right? And getting on 4 means that it's nearly a particular time, age, or number. This is highly idiomatic, highly British, right? It is here. It must be getting on for midnight. Debe de ser medianoche. He's getting on for 80. Está por cumplir 80, right? Very nice phrasal verb, right? All right, now let's go to section 5. And as you very well know, section 5 is about a lot of vocabulary. So that's what we'll do. Now, how do you approach this? Well, actually, there isn't a lot of vocabulary here, so a couple of expressions and a particular bugbear of mine. You know, maybe this, a particular bugbear of mine. Inflation is the government's main bugbear, something that annoys me, right? And that's a use, I think you know, of regard. So lately, people have been saying in regards to, right? That's very popular now. Now, regard as a verb, right? You regard somebody, he regards himself as a patriot. But here we are using it as a noun, right? In this and that regard, right? Or in with regard to somebody or something. So you will see that there's no S, right? In regard or with regard to somebody. A country's laws in regard to human rights. The company's position with regard to overtime. Be careful, overtime, so not as extras, right? It's not extra time. I'm writing with regard to, not with regards to. And guess what? American English, same thing, right? Regards as a noun, give him my regards. That's a noun, right? In the plural. But with respect to, in regard to, with regard to, no S, right? So this is very informal, spoken English, though of course you will find it in writing, right? But I would say it's not the most standard form, right? So be careful. Of course, you do say as regards something, right? Because in that case, you're using the verb in the third person singular, right? So let's see if we find an example here. Highly regarded, right? He regarded us suspiciously. As regards, right? I have little information as regards fitness for the post, as regards the first point in your letter. All right? Very good. So that's all for regard. And I want to focus on namely, which is not mainly, right? When you say namely, what you mean is when you introduce more exact and detailed information, es decir, no es principalmente, right? Namely, this means that this is what I'm talking about, right? Namely means basically that is to say, right? Let's see, I think Merriam-Webster uses that is to say as the explanation, right? Well, yes, that is to say, or to wit, right? So remember, namely is not mainly, all right? Then you will find here the expression on the trot. I think you can already assume or imagine this is very British, right? On the trot, which means very, I mean, well, maybe one thing after the other, but here it's used in succession, right? Or maybe very busy. Okay. I think I have no more comments. Of course, you will tell me in class. Yes, there's something about alternative, right? On alternate days. I want to sometimes people complain that we use this word inappropriately in Spanish, right? No hay otra alternativa, sino otra opción en vez de alternativa, right? So alternate is the preferable stress in British English, alternate in American English, right? Alternate layers, right? Fruit and cream, ooh, that's good. Stretch up 30 times with alternate arms as a warm-up exercise, right? Alternate Sunday, so one Sunday you go, one Sunday you don't, right? Alternate days, one yes, the other one no. Okay. Now then, let's go to the next page, which is page 173. And here you will find a lot of new vocabulary. In activity 3 at the very top, I think that's everything is known to you. But in activity 7, there's a list of words, and this tends to happen in this book. And I would like to encourage you to say, okay, maybe there's too many words I don't know. Maybe I can incorporate at least 2 or 3, right? If you look at the list in number 7, you will find that there are many of those words you know, but maybe you're not sure how to use them, as in pinpoint. So we'll do this now, right? Pinpoint on the map, so to find and show precisely where something is, to pinpoint the precise location, so to point something exactly, precisely, right? And you also pinpoint the areas in need of help, right? Pin down is another one that I assume you must have heard, but I'm not sure how to use, because actually it has a number of meanings that are really interesting, right? That's when you stop people from moving, right? So 2 men pin him down until the police arrive. I think you may be familiar with this one. But, well, pin someone down at the office, which would be to find him. But this is the one that's very interesting. Sorry, yes, there it is. To make somebody make a decision or say clearly what they think. So it's difficult to pin her down to fixing a date for a meeting, to pin someone down to something, right? You and also pin down the cause of something, so identify, right? That's a nice one too. Well, emphasize, you know it. Lay stress, you know it. Underline, maybe you don't know that underline is the British word for underscore. Yes, mostly used in used in North American English. Okay, And then I wanted to go to the next point, point number 8, because I wanted to ask you whether you think you are comfortable with the meaning of the word imply, which looks like a word in Spanish, right? You would say sometimes, what are you implying, right? And possibly I doubt you have a problem here, but you know, English speakers do have a problem. Now remember, we keep saying that words of Latin origin for English speakers are foreign. They are transparent to us, native speakers of Spanish. And you know that sometimes can be a problem because the words may be a false friend. This is not the case. Still, I think the use of the reason that, or the way in which native speakers confuse these two words is significant, right? It tells us, it is a very good example, a very clear example of how a native speaker of English finds words of Latin origin completely confusing, right? So they will say things like, are you inferring I am a liar? Where you would naturally say, are you implying, right? Because we infer something from something that somebody said, and we imply something. That's the meaning we are hiding, right? We're trying to say without actually saying the actual words. Es decir, que infer and imply mean exactly the same as in Spanish, inferir y dar a entender. But native speakers, because, well, they do not see these words the way we do, get confused. So you may stop the video and read the explanation here, right? You will find this everywhere. And I wanted to focus on these other two words, insinuate. To insinuate, let's see if insinuate is a false friend or not, right? He insinuated that he was having an affair, right? What are you trying to insinuate? So as you can see, this looks very much like the word imply, right? And then look at this one. You insinuate yourself into somebody's home, right? So you try to gain somebody's trust, right? So you can see that's similar to Spanish, but not exactly the same, right? Because maybe we use it with a very restricted sense that does not appear here, right? Which is related to sex, right? Nothing to do in English. Maybe in this one, right? Insinuated her right hand under his arm, right? But it's not the same, exact same use that we have in Spanish. Now, the other word I wanted to see was so insinuate, and now I want to see intimate. Insinuate and intimate. Oh, we have here the verb. Now we will have the verb, sorry. So the pronunciation is the same, right? Sorry, intimate and intimate. The verb is intimate. It's like let it be known, right? He has already intimated to us his intention to retire. He has already intimated that he intends to retire. So he has told us, basically, right? Very nice word, right? Used quite differently in English, right? Another term that appears in activity 1, actually in the practice section, is the word to fathom, right? We use this a lot in English, right? Hard to fathom, difficult to understand, right? To make sense of, right? It's hard to fathom the pain felt at the death, oh God, of a child. It's a horrible example. All right. Now, I wanted to tell you that here in activity 2, you will find the example for an example for something we'll see in Unit 11, right? Activity 2, sentence 4, the key tells you that when is okay. We're going to see this in Unit 11, sorry, pages 184 and 182. Well, maybe you want to check this out now, or you will check it out later when we get there. Okay, section 6, right? Lots and lots of new words, though I'm not sure these are new. We're talking about shortage, lacking, or excess. Something is crying out for, you really need something. Something is lacking in. So remember this, something lacks something else, yes, or something is lacking in something, right? Look at those two patterns. You're in desperate need of, devoid is one that maybe you're not familiar with, sorry. Devoid of something, meaning that it doesn't have something, right? Devoid of warmth, devoid of vegetation, right? It doesn't have this. In dire need, which is in desperate need, right? Untapped resources, untapped, they have not been not taken care of, available, right? Yeah, that's it. They have not been used. That's what I wanted to say. Sorry, they have not been used. Okay, and then we're going to find lots of adverbs to describe this absence, right? To emphasize the absence. So desperately is one of them. Remember, we say desperate and desperately. She looked desperately. Now, this is the one I wanted. Desperately ill, desperately unhappy, desperately lonely means extremely. No es desesperadamente enfermo, ni infeliz, ni solo. And the desperately poor no son los desesperadamente pobres, sino son extremadamente pobres, right? Be careful. I have seen this mistranslated too many times, right? Maybe obscene is not one of them, right? I don't want to look it up now in Spanish, but we do have this same idea of something obscene as being outrageous, right? Being excessive, right? Well, the verb indulge is one that I think is useful. Indulge. We speak of overindulged children, right? Consentidos, right? To indulge someone in something, to indulge yourself in something, right? To indulge yourself. It's a very nice verb. And a person is indulgent, right? Indulgence, the noun. Okay, you may wish to stop the video and have a look at the examples. Okay, now I wanted to have a look at these expressions, which are really nice. Down at hill, down at hill. A down at hill hotel or town, right? The idea is that venido a menos, right? Less attractive, less fashionable than before, down at hill. That would be our venido a menos. Notice the hyphens if this is used as an adjective, right? Before the noun and then after the verb, it is down at heel, right? And the other one is down and out. The same will happen in terms of styling, right? There will be hyphens as an adjective, down and out, but this is used to refer to a person without money, a job, right? Or a job. Being down and out in London, but, sorry, in this case as a noun, a down and out, right? A person, right? All right. Well, you have examples to show lots of money, to be strapped for cash, rolling in money, right? Lots of money, to want for nothing. He wants for nothing. He wants for nothing. This is, it means he has a lot of money, right? Well, I should have written on for. Yes, exactly. Sorry. And then the other expression is to be on the breadline. Yes. That's when you have the lowest income possible, right? The lowest amount, the smallest amount of money that you need to live. Want for nothing, right? You have everything you need. Very good. Let me just check. Yes, this word. I'm gonna type it out. Yes, I want to think about the pronunciation. Surfeit, right? Watch it. Surfeit means excess, right? Indigestion can be brought on by a surfeit of rich food, a surfeit of violence. Very formal word, right? Very, very formal word. And in this case, they use a surfeit of luxury, right? And I think that's about it. Oh no, sorry. The next page, 175, towards the end of activity 1, this is very nice expression, to run on empty. Sorry, run on empty. I'm not sure you're familiar with this one, so that's why I want to share it with you. Oh, sorry. To be running on empty, right? So it means you continue despite the absence of resources, basically, right? A lot of players are running on empty and deserve a good rest, so they're trying their best despite having no resources, right? But it could be energy, ideas, right? I'm running on empty. Okay. Well, I think the rest is for us to working class. You have you have the opposite of down at heel, which is well heeled, right? Right, have a cartoon here, meaning rich and wealthy, right? And down at heel, meaning, well, the opposite, right? Okay, so that will be it. Yes, because there's nothing else I want to tell you about the exam practice. You can actually do it, but then we'll comment on it in class, and that's about it. Thank you very much.